The weekly Torah portion, Truma, describes the building of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, where God's presence resides. The Mishkan is a temporary and portable version of the temple that after 500 years finds a home in Jerusalem. The word Mishkan is like the word neighbor, shochen, someone who resides nearby. And the Mishkan is where God's Shekhinah, God's presence, in the feminine tense, God's feminine presence resides. The Parsha continues to describe the wooden ark covered in gold on the inside and out, the golden menorah, the candelabra, hammered from one piece of gold, the curtains made from twisted linen and scarlet and turquoise wool, and the spacious rectangular courtyard. So what's the purpose? What's the purpose of building this Mishkan? Well, it's all about building and creating the perfect place to come together and talk. Or, as we Jews have perfected and even turned into an art form, to schmooze. To schmooze. Schmoozing means to talk intimately, in a cozy fashion, to relish a really good conversation. Wow. Wow, what a wonderful word and a timeless concept, to schmooze. Sometimes when my brother-in-law would come home late, my sister would say, "Where were you?" And he would respond, "I couldn't help it. I got schmoozed. Someone grabbed me, started schmoozing with me." Sometimes we need to disconnect from social media, from Skype, FaceTime, text messages, Twitter, and even Facebook, yes, so we can connect via this Jewish spiritual technology, schmoozing. It might mean finding a cozy place to sit. Maybe when you go to a restaurant for a meal, find a good booth in a quiet area, or maybe just a really good long car ride where you already know how to get there, right? Space matters immensely, and creating just the right setting can make a huge difference. In our Parsha, God asks us to create the ideal place to schmooze. It needs to be comfortable, lots of light, has to smell good, they had the incense, maybe even some wine, they had wine libations, even some flatbreads, they would cook and bake a little bit, and of course barbecue, that's what they did. It needs to be the right decor to inspire really good conversation. And that's why in the middle of describing all the details of how to build a Mishkan, God takes a moment and says, "Nodati, I will arrange my meetings with you here, and I will speak with you." Our rabbis pay attention to this, and they say, where exactly was this meeting to take place? And in fact, it takes place in a small, intimate area, probably this under 10 tvachim, 10 handbreadths, which is just a few feet, just around the ark. Just kind of area over there, small, intimate, cozy area. And our rabbis learn from this a powerful insight into relationships. The close proximity of God's presence symbolizes the intimacy, the love, and the joy surrounding the conversations we have with God. However, centuries later, the rabbis noticed, after the relationship between Am Yisrael, between the Israelites and God had been strained and even soured, the prophet Isaiah declares, "Thus says the Lord, the heaven is my throne and earth my footstool. Where is the house that you can build for me? There is no house big enough. When there is no love and no joy, no amount of space, no home is big enough for God's presence to dwell amongst us." Most often we assume correctly that schmoozing, this sort of intimate conversation, is a result of a loving and loyal relationship. However, we have to remember that schmoozing can also bring about this intimacy, that a good conversation can nourish, fortify, edify, a relationship. And that's what interests me. That's what excites me. That's what motivates me. I remember a funny skit on Saturday Night Live from a few years back where they make fun of people who forget that Valentine's Day is around the corner. It's around the corner. And people run out to Walgreens or CVS, and they go to that aisle, and they find a few trinkets, and then they bring it to their loved ones and say, "Oh, I love you so much, and I bought you this teddy bear on sale for 99 cents. So I have a suggestion. You don't have to go to CVS. You don't have to go to Walgreens. I might suggest setting aside time for a really good schmooze, a really good conversation, something that will fortify and renew that relationship you know you can have. In fact, we are entering the Hebrew month of Adar, leading up to Purim, a time when we're instructed, Misha nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. As the month of Adar enters, we have to increase our joy. These conversations will increase our joy. And I have proof. Last week, I called a close friend, and instead of the normal 10 minutes of catching up and this and that, I dedicated a good amount of time, made sure my kids were sleeping, had a comfy place on the couch, and with my best buddy, we had a schmooze. 45 minutes later, we hung up the phone. The next day, he sent me a message, and he said, "Wow, I really enjoyed that schmooze." Shabbat shalom.